Yes, people, welcome back to the only YAHYAH with the one and only, the true YAHYAH Chino. Today we're talking about Ivan, Toney, or Watkins. Who should Gareth Southgate take? But before we jump into that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. Keep hitting the bell for notifications so we can keep bringing you great content going forward. So as we see, Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney, the media saying, lots of people saying that Gareth Southgate needs to make a choice. But in my opinion, he doesn't. He actually just needs to walk with both of them. Now, people might say I'm crazy, but these are the reasons why I'm saying this, right? So, both strikers bring something totally different to the English camp. Now, in my opinion, I do not think any of them, either or, is good enough to be the main striker for England. I'm not saying they're not good enough to play for England, but I'm saying for them to have that same aura like Harry Kane, or for England to have the same dependency on them like what they do with Harry Kane, take that out of your mind right now. They will not have that impact. And that is why, in my opinion, I think you should walk with both, because one allows you to play pragmatic, which is Ivan Toney. He gives you that whole real good hold up. He gives you that he gives you the ability for you to play long onto someone to hold the ball up. And his attributes are very similar to Harry Kane in terms of pace, in terms of physicality, in terms of what they want to do within the box. It's very similar to Harry Kane. Ollie Watkins brings something entirely different. Dynamic, quick. He runs the channels more than any forward by a cross mile. So there was actually a statistic 2 months ago that came out with Ollie Watkins. They am showing the statistics of how many runs per forward in behind. Now I also know that this has massively to do with the way Aston Villa plays and how Unai Emery wants to play with a high line, because as you can see, Aston Villa has the team with the most offsides, not against, but for them. So they have caught the teams the most offside this season. Also, if you see the heat maps of Ollie Watkins, he stays within the center of the goal and makes lots of runs within the center of the goal. Now, one of the biggest things Unai Emery said about Ollie Watkins a couple months ago in his press conference when he actually was, he wants his striker to stay within the midst of the post. He wants him to operate within the midst of the post. And, it actually shows, because we're looking at a statistic here Sky Sports brought out between Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney that I will break down in a bit. But those statistics shows you exactly what Unai Emery was saying, because you can actually see the fruit, him reaping the fruits, him reaping his rewards, the fruits of his labor. Now, Ivan Toney went through this whole case. He hasn't trained for 8 months, right? Ivan Toney wasn't allowed to play for a long time. But we see discrepancies, as I've said in other videos. If you check out the Newcastle video about Eddie Howe, I mentioned Tonali, and I mentioned how they dealt with Tonali's situation differently, allowing him to train with Newcastle even after him and Toney received similar bans from similar associations. Now, Ivan Toney wasn't allowed to train with Brentford. So he was training by himself in the US and other places. Yes, he can be training, getting sharp, but that is nothing to do with team training and actually playing games. Take that from me. I know about that as well. So it's about him now trying to catch fitness. And that's why I believe Ollie Watkins, if they're only walking with 2 strikers, gets the nods. Because 1, he brings something different. 2, he's in better form. 3, he's played a whole season, so he has that rhythm. But also, For Toney, I can see him getting the call because he brings a level of confidence. He brings that I am the man, I can lead this line. I am not afraid to take on the mantle of being that guy like Hurricane, where I feel like Ollie Watkins is such a humble guy, and in his demeanor and his aura, he's not like, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm gonna be the one to make England like, yeah, he'll score goals, yeah, he's worked hard for the team, but he don't give off that aura. Now, let's break down some statistics on Watkins and Toney so we can really understand what's going on here. So Sky Sports, big up to Sky Sports, did a little statistics based from the World Cup to now for goals and the type of goals between Toney and Watkins. So Ollie Watkins since has 56 to Toney's 36. So the goals already kind of tell that you can tell that one's been playing for a while one has been banned. And to say that Toney has been banned for such a long time, for Ollie Watkins only to have 20 goals over Toney, for me, already speaks of who has a better goal scoring mind. But that is just based on how many goals, because when we look at the type of goals, we also see that Ivan Toney scores more of a variation than Ollie Watkins does. But also, what it shows is that Ollie Watkins, based on what Unai Emery is saying, plays within the midst of the goal, not Ivan Toney. Now, we look at right footed, there's 34 to Watkins and 29 to Toney. Left footed, there's 12 to Watkins and 3 to Toney. So already again, we see the difference in the versatility of that player, left foot, right foot. Then we look at heading. There's also more goals for Toney, more goals for Watkins than there is for Toney, which for me also is a surprise because Ivan Toney is bigger in stature, physically bigger, better in the ear, but based on the goal scores, it shows that Watkins is operating areas where he can score goals within the midst of the post. That is something that is very important as well in tournament football. Penalties. We see 11 penalties for Toney, 3 for Watkins. Now, in tournament football, penalties and free kicks are important. And between that, Watkins only has 3. He has 0 direct free kicks, whereas Toney has 14. So 14 goals he has from direct or indirect play. So penalties 11, direct free kicks 4. So it shows that he is a man for big moments because penalties aren't as easy as it is. And as Thomas Frank has said many times, his manager, he's the best penalty taker in the world. Now, I don't know about that. But what I know is he is really good at penalties. So that is also an asset. But should England be picking a player only based on how good he is at penalties? It depends because this is tournament football and penalties do happen. And remember, they lost to Italy in a penalty shootout. So let us be aware that this is very important as well. But it just shows that Toney also now, again, it shows Toney has scored Watkins has scored 55 goals inside the box, 1 outside the box. Toney is 32 inside the box, 4 outside of the box. So again, it shows that Ollie Watkins occupies that area a lot better than Ivan Toney, or even more. Maybe because of the team he plays for as well, it doesn't force him to come back as much, whereas Toney is playing in a team that plays in the low block, so he's hardly getting the chances like Watkins. But in either one would be a very good option for Gareth Southgate as a backup to Harry Kane. But Ollie Watkins brings a bit more dynamism than Ivan Toney. Now, we have never seen Ivan Toney play with high level quality of players for a longevity of time. So this can also be us not being able to see him playing with a really good team to see and get the best out of him. This is why I think The Euros would be very good for him to go to also in order for him to show the world what he can do in order for him to get a move to a bigger club. When people looking at Nicholas Jackson, Chelsea should have went after Ivan Toney, in my opinion. You know, maybe he was too expensive or because of what happened with the betting, the media, and it doesn't look good for the club. It brings negative attention. But then also you have to be aware that this man was scoring lots of goals even before his ban and will continue to score lots of goals. So who do I think Gareth Southgate should bring? I think he should walk with both of them. I think he has nothing to lose. And 6.5 a dozen is the same thing. I don't think any of them have the ability to break that that level or break that bar that Kane has set. But what I do believe is each of them in different games can bring something different to England, where also Southgate doesn't have to force a player like Marcus Rashford, who probably is going to have to play lots of minutes in this Euros based on just one, Jack Grealish just coming back from a very long-term injury, so form-based for Jack. Two, Anthony Gordon is no way close to being as good as Grealish or Rashford in terms of quality, technical ability, the ability to beat players, the ability to get into behind, the ability to take a game on the scruff. He has none of that. He is so many bars below those players. And I'm not saying he can't get there because he's a young player, but who knows? But based on what we are seeing of Anthony Gordon, he's an average winger. He's good, but he's an average winger. So yeah, Gareth Southgate should walk with both. Should walk with both because also Harry Kane is very injury prone. And as we've seen with Harry Kane, usually when he gets this ankle roll or ankle injury, his seasonal ankle injury, he comes back and then he has a setback again. Now, he hasn't had a setback throughout the season yet. So this is his first setback in the season, which is why I believe because of how many games coming with the load up on his ankle in the Euros, you rather have a 75% fit Harry Kane with these two players behind him than a 75% Harry Kane with only one of these players behind him. Because it also shows that these players dip in and out of form a lot and they're very inconsistent in terms of finishing and big moments. Harry Kane is the man for big moments. These strikers are trying to become guys for big moments. So we have to also understand that we can't put the same pressure on these guys like what we put on the Harry Kane. But yes, people, this has been your boy YAHYAH coming to you live again. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notification. Comment below. And keep helping me get to 1,000 subscribers going forward. Yes, have a good day. Take care. And